yet to say, even relatives. It can come from fathers, it can come from brothers, it can come from sisters, it can come from anybody in the society. They can also be family members, community members, and I'm sorry to say, also representatives of the government. Even before I give Saumu an opportunity to answer that, nitawauliza, last year hii mwaka tumeona chief moja akifumaniwa na msichana. Na hiyo ni aibu sana. Kwa hivyo leo tutakuwa tunaongea haya maneno, na nataka kumkaribisha kwanza Saum aweze kutuambia. Kuna hii orange movement ambayo mimi nilitafuta kitu ya orange nikakosa. I have nothing to wear. Mimi naona uko kwa theme. Kwa hivyo Saum, tuambie, what is orange movement, and you know, what are we supposed to do as a society during these 16 days of activism?
Thank you once again, Musa. About the 16 days of activism, this year we have the End Gender-Based Violence Against Women and Girls. And between the 16 days, we started on 25th and will be ending at on 10th December. We're supposed to do a campaign against gender-based violence in our community, society at large, and all over the country. And between these days, we're supposed to advocate for ending gender-based violence in our community. We start at the grassroots, from the pale nyumbani, watoto, going up to the spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, up to the workplace, mpaka kwa government, as you have said.
And this is why we are here today. Mimi nashukuru sana kwa sababu sisi tuko hapa katikati ya hiyo, na this is not only the program that we are going to do, because actually next week I'll be hosting another lady also, and she'll be talking about a totally different chapter, but we'll also be asking her about the same questions. We have a problem in our society, and before we even get to these questions that we have, you know, what are the forms of gender violence that we have, according to you ladies? Let me start with TABBYSUE. What are the forms of gender violence that you know?
Gender-based violence, you mentioned when you began, it could be any form of abuse.
Yes.
Emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. It could be even verbal abuse, whereby at times things may be said to you, or something may be done to you, and you actually feel it is inappropriate. So it can happen to both genders, not necessarily just us, also to the boys and the men. So it involves all those aspects of one's life.
Yes. Yeah. Now, we are in this season, Saum.
Yes.
What do you think, where do we think as a society? Ndio tumeona statistics nyingi sana katika society. Tuko wapi saa hizi? Unaweza sema kuhusu gender-based violence, where are we as a society right now? Are we any better, or where are we right now?
Before I answer your question, maybe I can add on forms of gender-based violence. We also have psychological and economical gender-based violence, which TABBYSUE maybe forgot to mention about them. And I think she'll get deeper into them later. So maybe going back to your question, right now, if we try to look into our society, I think we are way far behind when it comes to gender-based violence. Yeah, because it is something that is there back at our homes, which we grew up seeing it, our parents are going through it. But as you know, this is Africa, and mwanaume ndio kichwa ya nyumba, akisema ni kuwapiga nyinyi nyote mnapigwa. Yeah.
Now we are going to come to what is the responsibility of each of us, of course starting from the family unit up to the government. But let me ask generally, and anyone of you can answer, how do we build a society that is free from gender-based violence? How do we get there? How do we build a society like that one?
Maybe you can start.
Yes, go ahead.
Having conversations like this, normalizing such conversations can be one big step. And also at times it becomes hard for someone to speak out, because you have seen this as a normal, just like Saumu has mentioned. So at times people don't know, where do I go? What other avenues I can go and reach out in case I'm experiencing this? So also sensitizing people on the available programs that are around their communities, to know if this is happening to you, you can go to this place. And also having these conversations in medias that people listen to frequently.
Radios, into the TVs, and the social media. So just normalizing these conversations and saying it's okay to talk about this. Yeah.
Now, going to Saumu, I want to mix that question with the theme of this year.
Yes.
Now, you know, when we are talking about the orange world, we are talking about who is going to fund, because the message emphasizes on people should fund these kind of conversations. You know, the way we respond, the prevention, and of course the collection. Let me ask you about funding. What do you think? Because if we have to build a society that is free from gender-based violence, we must also be very serious ourselves in funding these kind of activities. What do you think about that one? Because you work with organizations that fund these kind of conversations.
Yeah, for sure, that is very true. And I think we can start with what we have. What do we have already? We don't need to source extra funds from somewhere.
We have Musa, like keep hosting you.
Yeah, exactly. That is all we need. We start advocating for these kind of topics in already what we have, and we start doing what we can do. Like for me, I can act. We can act something that has the theme about the ending gender-based violence in our community. Yeah, that is all we can do as per now. We use the resources first we have before we source for outside funding. Yes.
Wow, I agree with that one, and I really love, you know, the point that, you know, a young person like Saumu ako na mafikira kama hayo, that more often than not we look out, we look at the donors, we look at the government, we look at the, you know, the people outside, you know, but we don't look at ourselves. And therefore I think to end gender violence, vile ambao these ladies are saying, it will start with us, but we are getting there. Let me ask you a very tricky question as far as COVID-19 is concerned.
Okay.
Do you think COVID-19 lockdowns have skyrocketed, and why do you think so? Do you think mambo ya gender-based violence, you know, imepanda na corona? Ni kama, kwa sababu when you look at the news every day, there's someone who has killed someone. There is a teenager who has been killed. There is a wife who has killed a husband. There is a husband who has killed a wife. Do you think it has skyrocketed?
Yeah, for sure, it is crystal clear that gender-based violence during this time, during this hard time of COVID-19, the cases have gone higher than expected, and this is because, for me, I'll say this is because, you know, watu wajazoeana, yeah, and then everybody has emotional distress. Kila mtu ako na stress za kazi iliisha, uko nyumbani, wife anataka kukula, watoto wanataka kukula. So bibi akiitisha like we need money for food, out of anger inaanza hapo, you know. Mzee anakasirika.
Mbona umaskini inaletaga hasira hivyo? Anyway.
It's not only in umaskini, but also the other side, the other level, the rich people, which I don't use that name. And they go through gender-based violence. It's not supposed to be physical, but also economical or psychological. Unakuta bwana anaanza kuthreaten bibi yake like usinitishe pesa ya shopping this month. You know, such zinafanya yani the wife akuwe na mafikira mengi, mawazo mengi, and out of fear hata kuja kwa mtu kama mimi rafiki yake aniambie, you know, bwanangu amesema I don't do this and this, and since wewe umesema matajiri nini, ataogopa kuonyesha wanalala njaa. So also psychologically it affects them.
Na sasa hiyo ndio inaleta watu wengi sana wako na hasa tuseme wale wako middle level and above, unakuta wako na stress nyingi, wako na depression. I think that one also can cause. What do you think from a professional perspective? Why have cases skyrocketed na tunapata cases nyingi sana? Kila siku ukifungulia radio ama televisheni lazima kuwe na case moja, either mtu amepigwa ama ameuawa, mambo kama hayo. Why do you think imepanda hivyo professionally?
Just like what Saumu has mentioned, I'll add, boundaries have been crossed. You know, anytime you have a boundary and someone goes beyond your space, kuna my space and your space and our space. So when you find that the boundaries have started being crossed, which could happen in the work setting, it could happen in the home setting, you find that these cases have gone up. And just like you asked, has COVID-19 escalated this? Yes, it has. Because people's spaces have been infringed. It could be in form of the conversation and the communication we make, the stresses that are around us, the anxiety levels have also gone up. So all these factors contribute to having these cases going up. Yes.
Thank you so much. I want us, before now we get to the society, and try and offer solutions, because this program and these conversations are supposed to be, you know, solution-based conversations. But let's first of all dive into the real matter. And why am I saying the real matter? The victims. Kwa sababu the victims of gender violence, na najua kuna wale ambao wanaangalia, we'll try our best to be as sensitive as we can. Kwa sababu the gender violence inahusu mambo mengi sana. Let's for example say a girl who is out there who has been raped by the father. A girl who is out, a boy who is out there who has been molested by a relative. And therefore, when you talk about gender-based violence, it's a very sensitive issue. And therefore, we, number one, condemn it. We really want to condemn it from the word go. And we want to talk about the victims kidogo. And the first question I want to ask you ladies to help me understand, or probably, you know, what you would advise, what are the risk concerns for victims as they report? Because, yes, you have been raped. Yes, you have been beaten. What are those risks involved? First of all, without giving, you know, the solutions, what are those risks do you think that are there that even people are afraid, I'm not going to report? What are those risks that are there for the victims?
Maybe even before we answer that question, do people really know the procedure of reporting a rape case? That's where we should start.
Yes.
Like for somebody who is maybe in Laikipia North, akirepiwa huko, that girl, does she know the procedure? Should they go home, change? Should they first go to the police? Should they first go to the hospital? Do they even really know how to go about it?
If you do not mind, before we go back to that question, both of you, you know, in a very simple way, what is the procedure of reporting something like rape? Anybody?
Maybe I can say, and then Saumu kindly you'll add.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Someone brought the issue of taking a bath. I believe before, when such a thing happens, you should not take a bath. You should look for someone who is maybe will accompany you to take the forms that are required, and then now you go to the hospital. Maybe you may not have that person you trust, and you may wonder now, where do I begin? You can present yourself to the police station. And at times you feel like, sasa nikianza kwa police kutaenda aje. But you need a place to begin. You need the forms that are required, then you go to the hospital. The hospital is going to examine you, and then you're also going to be given some medication to prevent any infections and also any pregnancy. And then from that point, they're also now going to even call someone who is trusted to you to take you through the next process. So do not take a bath and do not tamper with anything that is involved on that process. But Saumu, can you add?
Maybe to echo what TABBYSUE said, if, for example, I'm raped today and maybe I can't access somebody like Musa or Laikipia, take me to the Nanyuki police station, just don't tamper with the evidence. If you have a polythene bag, just wrap your clothes, put it there, go with it to the police station, as TABBYSUE said, get the right document. From that, you'll go to the hospital, and then the doctors will examine you, will give the feedback back to the police, and then the case will be looked into.
Even before we go back to my initial question,
Okay.
You have touched a place that I wanted probably to ask it as a question. There is a victim. We have talked about the victim and reporting.
Yes.
But then after reporting, let's say, for example, the perpetrator, more often than not, you know, they go to the police station. But one of the things, Saumu and our counseling psychologists, that does not stand right with me in our laws is that a perpetrator can rape a girl today and tomorrow they get a 5,000 cash bail. What do you want to say about that? Because I think we need to talk about that when it comes to, you know, law is law.
Law is law,
they qualify for the bail.
Yeah.
But what do you think is wrong with our system? Because I think that is wrong.
Maybe if I can go first.
Yes.
Musa, you are raising my temper right now.
No. Cool down.
So if I can tell you guys, if BBI for sure is for us youth, we need to have a law which should get rid of bailing such cases. Yeah. If, for example, today I'm raped by Mr. X, and Mr. X will go to court with it, and then that person is given a bill, 10,000 achiliwe. Kesho, he'll rape someone else.
Yeah,
You know,
he might even
so
rape the same person.
wait. So I'm telling you guys, before even we say something about BBI, if BBI is for the youth, we start there. We need to have such kind of laws that it defends us like youths. You understand, Musa?
Yeah, I can understand.
Yeah, because it's very painful for a girl like me. I've been raped today, and then after a month or so, I see the person who raped me back in the community. How shameful of me. Or how do you feel? Like, if it was you, how would you have felt? You know?
I think
So we need like to get rid of bailing such cases, rape cases. When that person need to be massacred. That person need to be massacred. You know, in some religions, if you rape a lady, you are supposed to be stoned to death. So rape, Musa, let me tell you, rape. Rape is not something that we should take it as late as people try to take it in
now
this
cool your
community.
temper so that I can help you also. What I think in our society we need, and this one we are talking to our parliamentarians, we are talking to our county assembly, is to, even as we talk about BBI and you know, passing it and stuff, there's what we call the penal code. There's some other laws in our country that does not make sense. There were the 1963, 1950s. Even after getting independence, we have not amended those laws, and therefore, I think a person who has been caught with gender-based violence, may it be rape, may it be beating someone to death, I think we should scrap giving them cash bail.
Exactly, my point.
We
exactly.
should scrap giving them cash bail so that the victims feel safe. Because the reason why I say this is a very emotive issue is, you know, girls are being raped every day, boys are being molested every day, and when that happens, the next morning, how safe is the victim? Because if a person has the audacity of raping someone, they have audacity of killing someone, and therefore, if our rules are releasing them, then that one need to be looked at, and the point is home. Now let's stay still with the reporting issue. And you know, what about stigma? Because most of the girls, most of the women, most of the people who go, you know, through the gender-based violence, they are afraid to report, because you mentioned our culture. And I'll start with Laikipia, and allow me, guys. In some tribes, because it is a cosmopolitan, we have 22 tribes in Laikipia, and I know, and I'm sorry that I might step in some toes. There are some tribes in Laikipia, and I will not mention that they believe that if your husband beats you, is love. Then when you're killed, the MP, the MCA, the governor will come in your funeral, and they will say we need to end gender violence. But when they go back and sit down in their culture, they still say, hey, you are beaten, your husband was showing love. I want you to talk about that. You know, the stigma that comes with reporting. You might be an outcast. Unaambiwa hata usirudi kwa hii jamii kwa sababu wewe ulienda kuripoti ule mzee na nikukuchapa tu, alikuchapa slaps mbili.
Yeah, maybe I can mention on that. Yes. And maybe this is coming about with an aspect of people not knowing what is toxic. At times you'll find that someone will stomach something that is happening to them because of maybe even not knowing now what do I do. Just like you mentioned, it could be maybe because of the culture that is there. It could be, yes, they will go to the leaders, but they'll tell you, webe vumilia, webe ka. But I guess it's also, we are now in that age and we are in that setup that when we have this conversation, someone who is going through it will actually know that, wow, this is not something that should be happening to me. Because these things are happening even in the homes. You'll find a child or even a mother or a father is experiencing this toxic energy around, but they do not know, now where do I go? I don't want to be seen as an outcast. I do not want my society and my community to see me as a coward for even speaking out on these matters. But when systems are there, someone will know that I am important and I do not need to be there to stick and see my life just ending. Just like you mentioned, death can actually just come about. So yes, stigma is real, but it can begin somewhere. Yeah.
That's true. What do you think about stigma? Na wewe Saumu unafanya kazi na madem wale ambao wako kile class cha chini. Youth wetu wale wanaishi majengo kule Kanyoni, sisi ni watu wa kawaida hapa na Nyuki. So stigma iko vipi kule kwa ground, na do you think madem wanaogopa kureport kwa sababu ya stigma, labda Saumu ataniweka social media so sijui watu watasema nini? Nini happen kwa ground na madem wetu na pia na ladies?
Thank you so much for that question. For me, I'm raised in one of the slums in Laikipia, and I've seen all this. Growing up, for me, it hasn't been easy because I've nimelelewa in such an environment of all kind of sorts of issues. Yes. So stigmatization is there for sure, and is one of the major problems. Inafanya we have zero gender-based violence. Because for instance, leo mimi nimepigwa na mume wangu, tuseme for example, but I'm single guys, I'm very single. Tuseme nimepigwa na mume wangu leo, and ninaogopa kwenda kwa mtu kama rafiki yangu TABBYSUE kumwelezea. Or I fear to go back home to my mother and father kuambia nimepigwa na so and so. Because the way we are brought up is so much different from what is really happening. Sisi kulelewa kwetu, kuzaliwa kwetu, tumelelewa tukijua mwanaume ndio kusema akikuita unakuja mbio hapa chini, So even if your husband beats you or slaps you, you're supposed to just stick back to your home. Vumilia.
Mambo itakuwa sawa.
Wanasemaga mvumilivu ulambivu, lakini sasa hiyo imply hapo.
Mvumilivu anaiva.
Mvumilivu anaiva. So stigmatization is there. Like for example, if I go to the police and say my husband amenipiga and this has happened, do you think like somebody like my neighbor TABBYSUE or Musa Laikipia will want to associate with me? Atasema wewe una influence bibi yangu ende anishtaki polisi. So stigmatization is there, and people fear to go to report such cases because out of stigma. Si ati hawawezi, but out of stigma that is there in our community, it demoralize people to step up and talk about it.
But Saumu, nataka kubaki tu kwako kidogo.
Yeah.
Unfortunately mimi nimehudhuria mazishi ya mtu aliyeuawa na mkewe. Na nimehudhuria pia mazishi ya mtu ambaye mke aliuawa na bwana yake. Na sometimes ni mbaya sana. Miguu inakatakatwa, mikono inakatakatwa. You go to that funeral and it's not a funeral, it's a hell. Because you cannot even view the body, you cannot even listen to the story is not even hidden from the eulogy of how mutilated was that body. So talk to girls, look at that camera and tell them how many times should they be hit for them to go and report.
Dear girls, dear my fellow young girls, dear my fellow aunties and my moms out there watching this, immediately somebody put their hands on you. That is more than enough. You are not supposed to be back in that relationship without taking further actions. As much as we love these guys, as much as we want to be in our families, as much as we want to raise our kids with their father, please, you're not supposed to go through all this kind of trouble so that your children can have a father. I believe in strong women. I believe in strong single moms out there. It's okay. I believe in strong single moms who are out there that they decided to raise their children alone. But immediately somebody lay their hands on you. That is more than enough to just take an action.
We apologize because our neighbors are passing by. We have Air Force around, and we have to allow them to pass to go to work, and therefore we love them as our neighbors. As Saumu was speaking, I want to give TABBYSUE an opportunity to word, but as you word, I want you to add something. women, and more so, the reason why we are talking about gender violence, gender-based violence, and mention women is because they are most affected most of the time. Many women say, I'm staying for the children. You know, navumilia kwa sababu ya watoto. Talk about that as you add on what Saumu has said. Look at that camera.
I like to just add also on what Saumu has mentioned. At times it doesn't have even to go physical. But the moment that you feel that emotionally you're even being abused, because at times the person may not raise their hands on you, but the things that are happening to you are enough to warrant, I'm not safe. And it's okay to talk to someone. And more so not just a friend, a professional. Seeking professional advice will help, because one, your confidentiality is going to be maintained at that point. And also this professional is also going to give you guidelines on where you can reach for the necessary help. The problem we have at times is talking to a friend will talk to another friend to say, niliambiwa na Saumu, where do I go? So when you seek professional assistance, confidentiality will be upheld, and it's good to categorize. Kuna wale quacks who will portray like professionals, and your story will be out there. So it's also good to counter check, who is this person you're talking to. Then to answer your second question on what you have brought about is, now this, you have mentioned it and you want to stick there maybe because of the children. Remember, the biggest problem is allowing yourself and also your children to stick into that toxic environment. And the reason why I'm bringing about the word toxic again is, yes, you will want to stick because of the children, but the energies that they're going to be picking from that will actually be affecting them psychologically. The activities they're going to be seeing between you and your husband will also not be good to them. They'll go to school, but they cannot concentrate because of the things they're thinking about at home. So it's important to also put yourself first and ask yourself, yes, I want to stick here, but have I also sought the necessary help so that it doesn't affect my children? So I will not say it's okay or not okay, but you come first. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I want to appreciate our viewers who are watching us from Facebook. I want to recognize a few that have even sent wonderful messages to our guests here. We start with Robo Mkare. Robo Mkare is a youth leader in Nanyuki and Laikipia also. Anasema we are following kutoka headquarters. Salimia Saumu na anafanya kazi nzuri. Kwa hivyo Saumu umesalimiwa na Robo Mkare na anasema asanti sana. Na kuna kijana mwingine machachari, rafiki yetu ana watch from Liki, anaitwa Mageto Kenya 2. Anasema Saumu, I'm so proud of you. Na anasema he's following. Na tunashukuru sana. These are very wonderful young person. I'll bring them with Robo in this panel so that also wanaweza tupatia maoni yao kuhusu BBI na vile tutasaidia vijana wetu katika Laikipia County. Mageto anauliza swali, but before niulize swali pia kuna Joseph Kariuki, a friend of mine watching all the way from United States of America. Asante sana ndugu yangu. Mageto is asking, before we go back to the questions, what role does education play in preventing gender-based violence? Mageto, wewe umeona maswali yangu, but let's also first of all answer that. Saum,
yes.
What do you think is the role of education, our education system, in ending gender-based violence?
I think as much as we talk about life skills in school, we need to start a topic about gender-based violence. We need to normalize this topic, because as the Waswahili said, samaki mkunje angali mbichi. So if we want to end gender-based violence, we need to start down here. The guys in school, the young ladies, the young men in school, we need to start there. We need to normalize talking about gender-based violence. They need to understand, what do I need to do to avoid gender-based violence? If this and this happen, what should I do? Should I beat my wife? Should we sit down, talk about it, come up with a solution? You know, so I think gender-based violence is a topic that we need to introduce in Kenya as one of the major topics, come a life skill in our education system.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that is good. Do you have anything to add?
Actually, just what Saumu has mentioned here.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let me read two other comments, and I'll read them as they are written because they have been written by our viewers. Alta is my fan, anasema, some women think they deserve to be beaten and believe they have wronged the other person. If Luke 6:29, she's quoted the Bible, is taken literally, then it can be misleading. I'll bring a pastor for that one of these days. Yeah. But anasema, if someone slaps you on the cheek, don't stop that person from slapping you on the other cheek. What do you say about that one? Ati Saumu najua Saumu ni Muislamu, lakini katika Wakristo wanasema ukislapiwa hii unapatiana hii. What do you say about that one?
I guess the context is important to also look at the context in which that verse was written.
Yes.
And what were they talking about even before that verse comes? Because at times we carry things literally and lose the meaning of what it really meant.
Yes.
So it's good to go back and look at the context, and just like you've mentioned, maybe someone who is good in theology can come and tell us that. But abuse is not something
but
that
I'll
you
tell
give back.
Altar, we underline what Saumu said. One slap is more than enough.
Yeah.
And do not wait for the next one. Do not give the other cheek. Walk away. Go report. Because when you die, what is wrong with our African culture? Our African culture will always come and cry during the funeral, and when you report it, they want to stigmatize you. But go ahead, what you wanted to...
For me, I want to echo on what TABBYSUE said. You know, everybody has their different understanding of everything that is written or been said. My understanding is different from your understanding, and it's different from our understanding.
True.
You know, so whatever Olata is saying here, maybe I may understand tofauti na venye mwandishi wa the Holy Book alikuwa anajaribu kusema. So I think it's good when professional people come in, try and interpret everything, because I don't think the Bible encourages for women to be beaten. I don't think the Bible encourages for gender-based violence. Yeah? Yeah, wewe ulisikia wapi?
Ulisikia wapi? Wewe ulisikia wapi? Wewe ulisikia wapi? Asanteni fans wetu. Leo tuna mashabiki wengi sana wametutembelea. Kuna rafiki yetu sana, a very good follower of our program, and actually our supporter. Anaitwa Governor Richard Kamau. Ako kule upande wa Naivasha. Anasema there is more gender-based violence outside marriages than in marriages. The girls who are clobbered by boys every day are many. Are many. What do you think
Actually,
about
it's
that?
very true, because entanglements have been on the rise. And you'll find that you are out there, someone is abusing you.
Clobbering you and they have not married you.
Yes, and you don't want to go even and either tell a parent or a close friend, because they'll be like, why are you in that relationship in the first place? So it is not right. I guess the bottom line, it's not right to even be clobbered, just like our viewer is saying, even when you're not even in marriage. Yeah.
And we are saying that violence allows, silence allows violence. What do you think? Why do you think speaking up brings stigmatization? I think we have also, one of our viewers was asking that, but I know we have handled that. But the next big thing, Saum, before we will come to solutions and what your organization is doing, and also what the organization of TABBYSUE is doing, what is the role of social media in all this? Some people will really glorify, the gender-based violence. Some people will put the photos of women being clobbered out there. What do you think is the role of social media in ending gender-based violence?
First of all, I want to thank the people who invented the new media, that is Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and everything. It depends with how you use it, because the new media is here to help us come up with solutions. People are taking it for fun. But as much as it's for fun, let it be fun with an education message, So for me, I want to say social media is here to help us come up with most of the solutions that we have, the most of the problems that we have, and we can really advocate for solutions in our media. As you try and see right now, kila mtu sasa yako tune in Facebook live, mwingine yako Twitter, mwingine yako Instagram live. There's so many TV channels ziko live. Those are all the new medias which were not there back then. Zamani ilikuwa KBC channel 1.
Okay.
Right now we have so many other Right now we have so many other channels, and luckily enough, if you look at our population right now in Kenya, 70% are the youth, and most of the youth are in these new medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, So we as youth, we can advocate for ending the gender-based violence in our community. we can decide like let's have a tweet chat. Like for example, the other day, YDE, Youth for Digital Engagement and Action Aid Ninile, we had a tweet chat against youth against gender-based violence. It trended in Kenya.
I participated in
You
that,
exactly. It trended. Like it shows that we have the power. The power, it is in our hands. Hapa it's konayo hivi. Ni ati we are so lazy or ignorant about taking the power to another level.
And actually, someone said that there is nothing so dangerous like you know, an idler with a mobile phone on the other side, with a digital phone. That's a dangerous thing. But we can also put it on a positive, that there is nothing so useful than a person who has some time and has a digital phone. We can be able to, you know, to do these things that we are saying. And actually, sisi tunafanya hivyo kwa sababu sisi saa hizi tuko live on Facebook. Naona watu 20 wanatuangalia saa hizi live, wanatuangalia. Kwa hivyo hiyo ni muhimu sana. What do you think is the role of social media?
The role of social media is sensitization, like what we are doing today. Ensuring we put this voice out there, ensuring we write about this, we give articles, we invite people, we normalize talking about these conversations, because just like Saumu has mentioned, this is an era where everyone can reach this information real time when it is actually happening. So talking about this on your timelines is one of the biggest solutions.
There's a professional question here that I want it to follow, and also Saum can come in. What are some of the developmental issues or impacts to the survivors, and more so when they are children and teenagers? Kwa sababu gender-based violence tunasema ina affect kutoka wasichana wadogo, and it is so unfortunately there are people who even rape toddlers. What are developmental issues that you would want to address as a professional ambazo, you know, zinafanya hata hii kitu ikuwe hata ngumu zaidi, kwa sababu mtoto akirepiwa labda akiwa miaka 5, miaka 2, hata wale ambao ni watu wazima? What are those developmental issues that come up?
I'll base that on childhood traumas. And childhood traumas can fall in maybe the abuse either is done directly to the child, or the child witnessed this abuse happening around them, either in the family. So you'll find that the child will start having trust issues, which is normally built between 0 to 3 years. So trust versus mistrust will start coming in place, whereby the child, even in adulthood, they'll not be able to trust individuals, because some of the people they trusted so much in childhood actually are the ones who maybe abuse them. Also, another developmental problems will be even forming intimate relationships, which may come now from the ages of 16 to 25, because you found that the people who we are being asked to maybe form intimate relationships with are the same people who abused maybe my mom or my dad when I was growing up. So you'll find that there'll be an aspect of fixation whereby you're stuck in one particular stage because you're not able to go to the next. Also, issues on self-awareness will be a big problem, and that will also contribute to the developmental maybe slowdown, because you found yourself maybe one day you spoke out about what happened, someone put you down, and then your esteem went down, and then the awareness of who you are also went down, so that contributes. So some of these things at times happen back there in childhood, and at times someone is doing something later on in life based on what they saw. Also, some things like personality problems will start cropping up, because maybe you were in an environment that was toxic, you developed, or you were raised by someone who had a narcissistic personality. They are self-centered, it's all about me, myself, and I. So later on in life, you find yourself having those traits, not because you want, but it's because something happened to you, but you do not know what it was. So those are some of the issues that may come up.
Wonderful. And I think that is why we're really emphasizing, hata kama tuna have these conversations, na najua watu wengi sana wanatuangalia, ni muhimu kama we ni victim pale nje, uchukue fursa ya kupata courage ya kuseek for professional help. Nafikiri one of the things that Saumu nafikiri ninaweza pendekeza, counseling ni expensive. Counseling ni expensive. Lakini je, kabla nikuulize swali the next, kwa nini je katika hospitali zetu zote hawawezi weka free counseling services. Kwa sababu I can tell you the truth, TABBYSUE is here, she's a professional. And I'm telling you, for a person to afford what you say the minimum sessions tatu, anahitaji sometimes 10,000. You know, our girls cannot afford that. Some families cannot afford that. So why don't we, what is your word to the Ministry of Health, who I know the CC is a friend of mine. Kwanza ni ametupatia hii sanitizer. He's a friend of mine. Kwa hivyo, ongea na yeye kuhusu, you know, muongeleshe hapo kwa kamera na pia wale wengine wanatuwatch. What do you think as an activist, you know, na sipendi kuita jina hilo lakini ndio sisi ni activists in the other world, counseling services. Kwa sababu tukiambia watoto wetu na watu wetu waende watafute services, najua watakuwa hapa kwa inbox saa hizi, lakini tukiwaambia ni pesa ngapi, they run away. So talk to the Ministry of Health about counseling services for the gender-based violence.
How? Maybe before I get into your question,
Yeah,
I'd like to echo what TABBYSUE said.
Go ahead.
There's something that amesema relationships start as early as 16, but I wish to correct you.
Yeah.
Teenage pregnancy in Laikipia is higher than the national percent already.
Yeah.
Which showing you that GBV in Laikipia is high, because if you look into these cases, the girls did want to do whatever they did to get pregnant out of willingness. But they have to do it because they wanted something. Ama ni ile vile najua Musa akona kakitu kadogo, pesa kidogo na mongelesha kizungu. So, and I don't have money to buy sanitary pads. And I want money to buy sanitary pads, but during this time I'm home, I fear to ask for my father ama mother nipatie pesa. Like if you take a good look kwa msichana na slums, most of the cases the father is the breadwinner. Una imagine kwenda kuambia babako anipe pesa ya pad, atakuuliza utakula pad ama ni maziwa tutanunua, you know, such cases. So naona heri niende kwa mtu wa Musa wa Laikipia nipatie 50 bob, I buy pads, and then now Musa wa Laikipia after nimemaliza mambo yangu anataka malipo, you know, and you don't have money to give to Musa wa Laikipia. So whatever happens is gender-based violence because it's out of your will.
Yes.
And the person wants, and is a must you give because the person gave you money. So teenage pregnancy is very something that we should talk about it in Laikipia, and which show that GBV in Laikipia is high as well. Sawa sawa.
Yeah.
So if 9 years old can get pregnant,
It is happening,
which shows you that it's not a matter of 16, it's a matter of as early as 6, 7, 8, 9 going up. Sindio?
Yeah.
So that shows that we are growing up during this generation. We are really growing up so
Very
fast.
quickly, yeah.
Yeah, raka. And also TABBYSUE said something about the way people grows up around the maybe environment. You know, sometimes inakuwa kizaza. For sure, I'm a live testimony. I've grown up in a slums.
Yes.
That's for
likewise. Usidanganywe na hii
for a record. I've grown up in one of the slums in Laikipia, and I can tell you for free, I really thank God that I had some good parent kidogo that really understand and provided everything for us. But it doesn't mean that my neighbor has the same parent like me. You know, so have we witnessed, and sometimes you have gone through the same shit in the neighborhood. You have seen this happen. You know, it's usually around the circle it happens. Like if you try and see, you go to, for example, here in Majengo, ask how many girls have finished school, Form 4, give me your certificate. Less than 20. And you have over 200 girls there. Because most of them, they are early parents, you know. Things happened and it's not their fault, and you can never blame them. And fair enough, watoto watalelewa in the same in the same
environment.
Yes. So showing you that likely enough the
vicious cycle continues. Yeah.
So like we really need to, the government really needs to focus in these slums. You know, as much as there are many people, who are out there and they have gone to university, but if you come deep into the grassroots, you'll understand the suffer and the pain that is in there. You know, many girls want to go back to schools, but out of stigmatization, they can't go back. Ah, si alipata mtoto. Tunasoma na huyu alipata mtoto sijui nini, you know, you understand? So out of stigmatization, many young mothers cannot go back to school. I think the government is the high time you introduce for a record, I've been a peer educator here in Ninile Youth Empowerment Center in Nanyuki. And for sure it hasn't been easy because sometimes I'm not a professional counselor as TABBYSUE. So for me, I've gone to a training for 2 and 3 days or a week, and I'm there in the office. So some kind of issue you listen to, sometimes it traumatizes us, and you don't know who to talk to because you can't expose the patient's ninile. You know, you understand? So like you die with it, but at sometimes it becomes hard for you to take it. So like I'll urge the government, please, 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 for the sake of our girls and for the sake of the future of tomorrow, and as you understand, the population of Kenya, women are many than the other gender. So we need like to empower these women as early as today, or the government, and we can start as little as the county government of Laikipia, the CEC, Dr. Lenai. Yeah, Dr. Lenai is also my friend. Yeah. So Dr. Lenai, please, I beg, we can at least have, as for start, we can have 2, because I know the cases in Laikipia for people who need professional counseling, and which is not affordable. Even for me, I can't afford 3 sessions, 10,000. Oh my God, that's a lot. That one I'll pay rent and I'll buy clothes. That's for
true.
me.
And actually, I want to correct you. It's not 2, Daktari. Please, we want 3. We want 3. So that we can have one at the referral hospital in Nanyuki, and please let him or her be available at all the time, 24 hours per day. And we are not less of counselors. Doctor, we can give you as much as you pay them. Then another one in NJERU Referral Hospital, so that one can serve the west side of Laikipia. And then the third one, we can either, I think, Doldol. Doldol is central enough because people in Rumuruti can go to NJERU, but people in Garindare, there's no reason why they should come to Nanyuki. Let them go to either Doldol, so that we can have these issues solved. So Daktari, we are really asking you, and I know you're my friend and you're going to watch this, and actually I know you're watching, we are really asking, believe it or not, ladies, this is one of the panels that I've had, and 1 hour is going like just like that. We are 5 minutes away from time, but I add you 10 minutes so that we can answer 3 more very important questions. I want to start with Saumu. Before I want us 3 of us to ask ourselves, what is the role of the victim? What is the responsibility of police? What is the responsibility of religious institutions, the family unit, the government, and us all as a society? But before we get there, Saumu, what is Action Aid doing? Because you're there. What are you doing in the 16 days of activism against GBV, and how can us as a society participate? Tell us what you're doing, and how can we participate as a society, not even only for these 16 days, even beyond. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Musa Laikipia, and Action Aid or Mount Kenya Youth Hub or Activista Laikipia. There's something we call feminism, where feminism we talk about ending all kind of inequality against women, and is not only women but also men. But majorly focus on women and young girls in the community. During this time of 16 days of activism, we have had several campaigns about oranging the world. And the oranging the world is ending gender-based violence in our community or the world at large, because it's a widely theme. And we launched the 16 days of activism, and we'll be having more engaging activities and campaigns. As long as you're in Twitter, as long as you're with us, you can follow me, by the way, on Twitter at Amor Saumu, and on Facebook at Amorte Saumu. Any other platform that you know, I go by the names to Amorte Saumu. You can always check at my post. I usually post everything that is happening. So Action Aid is really trying to fight this. as much as we are talking here, it's also trying as much as we can do it in so many counties, not only in Kenya, but other countries. So this is something that ActionAid is really supporting as much as I'm in the loop. And it's something that we can do in partnership with Musa Laikipia Live, with a partnership with TABBYSUE as a professional counselor. Yeah, we really need to end gender-based violence. It has become another pandemic in Kenya. As much as COVID-19 is a pandemic, we have the second pandemic, which is teenage pregnancy, which encourages gender-based violence, because teenage pregnancy doesn't come as easily as people are thinking.
Yes.
Yeah. So as much as teenage pregnancy is the second pandemic, the third pandemic is gender-based violence, which I think everybody around Kenya should really, and outside Kenya, should really encourage people to end gender-based violence. And they urge the government, please, 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 the government of Kenya, please, please, the government of Laikipia County. We can always work together. We can always come up with solution. Find people who are so in touch and passionate with the youth, like Musa Laikipia. Find people, young youth like TABBYSUE, who are so professional, and they can guide us as youth, because we don't want to go to the hospital and find all the people there. You know, it's hard for us to talk to people like your mother, but it's easy for me to talk like somebody like TABBYSUE, because I see TABBYSUE is ni teen kama mi, you know, ni youth. Ya hata nikimwongelesha Mbogi,
ya Mbogi, na nilikuwa nataka kuambia Mbogi yako ina watch hapa, hata OTC ana watch. You can imagine hata Mbogi, wewe umevuta Mbogi. Nikienda
huko niseme mambo ya Mbogi, niongee Sheng, at least TABBYSUE can relate than going to meet someone older who cannot understand the current language.
True.
So I urge the government of Laikipia, please, we need people to be there, young people who are professional and have qualified to be in this office of counseling. We need them to be there. We need to end gender-based violence. As much as Corona is there, as much as everything is there, we can always advocate for gender-based violence virtually, as we are doing right now. We can always have online campaigns. We can always have tweet chats. We can always have a physical meeting as long as we observe the social physical distancing. Social distancing is not really, but physical. America. Yeah, physical distancing, and as long as we sanitize well, you know, we can always do these things, because I believe impossible is nothing.
True.
Yeah, everything is possible. It always starts with me and you.
Absolutely.
And immediately we got that positivity in us. Everything is possible.
Yeah. Absolutely. I want to read two comments. Before I read these two comments, we'll ask ourselves, what is the responsibility of us as a society? I want you to prepare, Saum, to tell us, what do you think is the responsibility of police and government? What is the responsibility of those two? And then TABBYSUE, I'll give you the two. What is the responsibility of the church and the family unit? These two comments, Saumu, I actually got them from the chat yesterday, and they were really good, so I copied them. One of them is from our own Oktokama. He said, we the young people have to take the lead to ensure that women and girls are free from threat of violence and abuse. We will continue to use our voices and speak up against gender-based violence, not today, but now. That was from Oktokama. That was a very good comment on yesterday's chat, #youth against GBV. Then another lady really commented very well, and I copied it, and I'm reading it right now. Gender-based violence is not an event, not a tick in government's calendar, not a campaign of 16 days of activism. It is a plea and reminder of daily struggles that victims and survivors of GBV face. Don't make it about perpetrators. It is not about them. This is not the platform to hear them out. We can do better. This is a platform for us saying that we need to get to 0 cases of gender-based violence. Saumu, what do you think is the responsibility of police and the government?
I think the responsibility for the police and government is, first, we make sure that the gender desk in our police station are active. Funny enough, I have an intel that tells me it's not so active in Laikipia. So kindly we need to look into that. And another thing, I understand that somewhere in Laikipia North, we don't have a gender desk. So maybe the county government of Laikipia, you can do something about it. We need to put a gender desk in Laikipia North. As much as we have teenage pregnancy at large in Laikipia, but most cases are from north and west, and the rest is from the east side. So we need, that shows that we really need to have a gender desk in North.
Yes.
And then now the government, we really need to have a rescue center in Laikipia. As much as we are talking about having gender desks, if I go there and my culture doesn't allow me to go and report such cases, maybe I'm disowned or chased away from the home, where do I go? I need to be rescued. So I'll ask the government that we really need to open a rescue center for our girls and some of our boys in Laikipia, because this is something that we really need. As much as people see it's so slight, we really need in Laikipia to have a rescue center.
Yes.
Considering that teenage pregnancy is higher than the national percent, that speaks a lot. I don't need even to go further.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That is Saumu. Let's go to TABBYSUE. What do you think is the role of the church? And you finish with the family unit, because I kind of think as a person it relies to the family units. But start with the church. What is the responsibility of church towards ending the gender-based violence? Not even the church, the religious institutions.
Thank you so much, Musa, for that question. And the church has a responsibility of having these conversations, sensitizing these talks, calling also people to just talk to the young people, to the mothers, to the fathers, to all the congregation people who come to the church.
Do you think, because, let me interrupt you, do you think it is very important for pastors to say it outrightly, like in their sermons and in church, and say, let's say no to gender-based violence? Because most of the times pastors have been accused, or religious leaders, by saying, oh, be patient, you know, it is God's will. You know, when you have been slapped twice or thrice and your husband is killing you, and more so when they are not saved, you know, and even if they are saved because they are psychos, there are people who are psycho and they are saved. So what do you think? Do you think it is very important for the pastors to come outrightly, you know, and say, please say no to gender-based violence?
Musa, before you continue,
Yeah, I know this one.
it is not only in Christianity, because you are putting this so specifically at the
I
church
said
and pastor.
religious institutions.
Even in other religions, it is not only in Christianity that gender-based violence is going on.
Yes.
So you know, you don't need to be so specific on this. You need to, as a specialist, as a professional, you need to talk generally, religiously.
True.
We have Muslim, we have pagans, even pagans are religion. We have Hindus.
We
You know.
even have, what do we call them in Kenya? The atheists.
Hey, exactly. So you don't need to say pastor. You don't need to say Christian church. You
So
know, we have mosques,
so
we have
religious
yes.
leaders then need to stand up, you know. And the reason why I'm very specific on pastors, because I've had other religions, you know, they come out very, very, very clear. And it is time now we call upon our religious leaders to come out. The press statements you're doing for BBI, come also with a press statement of saying no to gender-based violence. We shall pray and we shall believe in God to help us. But it is also very important for us to say no to gender-based violence.
Yeah.
So go to the family unit, because it's very important.
And also, just to add on that,
Yes.
also the church, not even really the church, the religious institutions should also come up with a place in which their congregation can also visit,
Like
for
safe
professional,
space, yeah.
yes. A safe space could be support groups that individuals can be called upon, and they can meet even once a week or frequently with a professional to just come and relieve themselves from what is happening to them. So these institutions can create that safe space where people can come and talk about the issues. The family. It's unfortunate that issues are beginning back at home, or rather within the family unit. It could be from a relative, it could be from your immediate family. So the family needs to know that what you do affects this individual for a lifetime. And even in the family, the victim is also there. And it's so unfortunate that at times the person who is going through the GBV does not have a person they can trust within the family unit. So it's the high time that the family and we also stop telling people that stay there for as much as you are being harmed. No, you are capable of just walking away for as much as, yes, they are family, and also looking for a place in which you can get the necessary help. Yes, this help actually is out there, but getting the right people who can just link you to that particular help is what is important.
Kila kilicho na mwanzo hakina budi kuwa na mwisho, lakini nataka kuongeza tu jambo moja. Jamani, wakati mwingine gender based violence inatokana na wazazi wetu, inatokana na ndugu zetu, inatokana na watu ambao tunaoamini sana katika maisha. Kwa hivyo katika unit ile ya jamii, family unit, ni muhimu sana to make decision. Mama, kama baba ndiye amedhulumu msichana wako, wacha kuficha baba. Police apelekwe police hata kama ni baba. Kama ni mama apelekwe police. Kama ni ndugu apelekwe katika police. Kwa sababu tukificha huyu mmoja, leo amemdhulumu mwanao, kesho atamdhulumu mtu mwingine. Kwa sababu nimeona jamii tunasema tufiche huyu, tufiche huyu. Jameni, tusifiche. Na napomalizia nataka kusema, for us to get to zero gender-based violence against women, girls, boys and men, we require a community-based approaches and sustainable engagement involving all the stakeholders that we have mentioned. This has been Real Talk today, and my name is Musa Laikipia, and I want to take this opportunity to really thank you, TABBYSUE, as a professional, for coming up so that we can have this conversation. Saum, we cannot thank you enough. Sikuambii nilikuwa nina hofu hautapata nafasi kwa sababu najua wewe ni busy. Niliogopa sana upate mkutano mwingine, lakini nili cross my fingers nikasema Mungu saidia Saumu asiitwe Nairobi, Mungu saidia Amref wasikuwe na mkutano leo, na hiyo ilifanyika. Na actually hata nilipokusumbua asubuhi nilikuwa nataka nijue kama bado huko Laikipia ama umeenda Nairobi. Kwa hivyo nashukuru sana, na we really appreciate what you're doing Saumu, na tuna encourage vijana wengi ambao wako nyuma yako. Kama vile sasa mimi ninataka uchukue fimbo kutoka kwangu na uongoze vile nimekuwa nikiongoza vijana, nataka pia wewe uwe na wengine nyuma yako, nao wale ambao utakapofika kiwango changu na juu tutawacha wengine. Sisi nitakupatia hii show wewe uhost, na mimi sasa niwe upande ule mwingine wa kuadvise. Kwa hivyo what am I saying? Let's mentor other young people so that this information can even go further. Lakini I really appreciate your leadership as the activist Laikipia. Na nashukuru sana Action Aid kwa sababu ya kupatia kazi, na pia nawaambia ukimaliza hapa wasikuache hivyo hivyo, wakupeleke juu so that you can continue supporting our young people. I want also to thank Ole Fidel and all other people that have helped us share this video. Akina Robo Mkare, akina Mageto, akina OTC, akina OT. Asanteni sana kwa sababu ya kutusaidia kushare. Wale ambao wamekuwa wakitizama na wale ambao pia wamecomment na kulike hii post, asanteni sana. Na wale pia watawatch hii video baadaye, asanteni sana. Lastly but not the least, the two guys seated behind the camera. Ladies and gentlemen, one of these days we'll turn the camera to see these guys behind the camera with computers and so many wires, and they make sure that you can listen, you can hear us, you can be able to see us very clearly. They give us free Wi-Fi internet to make sure that we stream. Bwana Andrew Letsam, asante sana, nashukuru sana. Na pia Steve NJERU, wao ni producers wetu, na pia wao ndio technical team yetu, tunawashukuru sana, asanteni sana. And in absentia, simniruhusu tu ni thank Brian na pia na Nicky Robert na pia na SK. Asanteni sana pia kwa sababu pia kutusaidia to edit our videos and all that you do behind the scenes even without charging us a coin. Thank you so much and we appreciate. This is Real Talk. Musa Laikipia, let's keep talking, because the moment we stop talking will be the moment that we start fighting. Let's say no to gender-based violence. Hii ni vibaya sana. Na kwa sababu sasa ninatoka onset, I want to remind you, as you put your mask, make sure that you sanitize your hands in the right way. Then I had hidden mine here, and remember that I told you do not touch inside. Open it in the right way. Chukua uzi yako, toanisha uzi, weka kwa mdomo, funika pua na mdomo na pia na kidevu chako, na make sure that you're safe. Keep on washing your hands and sanitizing, and keep social distance, and we shall overcome this pandemic soon or later. See you next week for another program. God bless you and have a good week.